It was literally this feeling from the inside of like what was living inside of me was so drawn to that path and lane. There was never anything else I wanted to be. What do a lot of people struggle with, right? Believing and working towards something that might be a few years out. You know, like one of my favorite quotes ever is, it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. Like when a lot of people are like, man, where'd this person come from? Behind the scenes, that person has been working tirelessly for years. Avoid comparisons. Avoid trying to stack up or find out where you rank at younger ages. It's not about that. It's about conditioning yourself to be willing to do what it takes and to love it.
Free to be me, free to sing sweet feathers and let me like a hug.
The Safe to Be Seen podcast is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. Darcy and Brandon Burke do not claim to be experts. We have no intention to defend our beliefs or impose them onto others. This podcast provides a space to allow for us to share with others what it's like to be us. We desire to share our human journey with others. We advise you to seek professional counsel, therapy, and/or treatment from trained, credentialed, and certified professionals for any emotional, mental, and/or physical conditions you may be experiencing. So we have John Beck here with us on the podcast today. Thank you so much for being here, John. So grateful that you're here.
My pleasure, man.
Yeah. Let's just, before we get into some of the deeper topics, we'll keep it a little light. And I want you to tell me about Soda Sunday.
We're starting it off with a laugh. I know.
Tell me about Soda Sunday, John.
Soda Sunday in the Beck house. Well, basically, soda gets abused. Whenever Dr. Pepper or different drinks end up in the fridge, we've realized they were getting abused during the week, and nobody was ever fessing up to who was taking the sodas. So we had to come up with a rule, like in our house, we are only going to drink sodas on Sundays. That's kind of like hey, we're going to do a nice meal. We're going to grill in the backyard, and we're going to have some soda. And it started to turn into a thing where some of those sodas before the meal on Sunday would start to disappear a little bit, or in the days following. And so Soda Sunday could get taken away. If the rules weren't followed, then you guys lose the privilege of having Soda Sunday. And so, they were pretty disappointed when Sunday would roll around, and because of last week's, somebody not fessing up to who took the soda when they weren't supposed to, they would lose that out. And so that's the Soda Sunday. And I feel bad that Darcy isn't here to... We can laugh a little about Darcy's situation with us. I don't know if you want to set that one up of what happened, or if you want me to tell it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the funniest like inside jokes that we have had, Darcy and I, with the Beck family. And I guess we should disclose at this point that John is married to my sister, and so I've known you since 2003.
Yeah. I think I first met you at the house when you guys were living. No, it was Logan. We came to visit you guys, and you made like that chicken in a pot, whatever it was.
Yeah. We were going to Utah State at that time.
Yeah, you guys were going to Utah State.
Yeah.
I saw your high school highlight film that night.
Yeah, I broke out the highlight film for you to see. I was trying to impress you.
But that would have probably been somewhere in the fall of 2003.
Yeah. So known each other a long time. And the Soda Sunday thing it's funny for us because there was one time where we were visiting you guys, and I guess a soda went missing.
Yeah, there had been some sodas missing for a while, and so I was at my wit's end, and I was about to call it all off, and I found a soda missing before the meal was supposed to start.
You were excited, you were heated, you went around like trying to figure out who it was, asking questions, interviewing all the boys to figure out who was the thief of the soda.
Putting the light on them.
Just making them sweat. And meanwhile, like I didn't know this till much later, but what we found out was that it was Darcy that took the soda.
It was Darcy.
And when she witnessed you going around like interviewing everyone and being like, she had no idea about Soda Sunday. She just saw soda in the fridge and drank it. Yeah. She didn't know that it was going to implicate someone as a theft in the Beck house. So it was really funny because she came to me, she was like, Brandon, it was me that drank the soda, but I'm not going to tell him. I'm too worried about
because I was like in full Chris Farley mode. I'll turn this bus around.
Yeah. you were excited.
Yeah.
So, and she, this was years ago, and she just fairly recently broke the news to you.
Yeah, I just barely learned about it.
So funny.
I know, it has been so funny. Yeah.
But that's a good idea. That's a good idea to make sure that, soda is controlled.
Yeah, it's tough, right? Because we all love, I mean, dude, I think it's in the genes also for a good stiff Coke,
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But
another inside joke.
Yeah, another inside joke. But yeah, I mean, a cold Dr. Pepper, and I mean, it's great, you know? So yeah, but like, it's tough because I do come from a place where my dad was somewhat strict on our diet growing up. Like, we had rules when it came to, cereal in the morning. That wasn't really allowed very often, and the type of meals. And I was always very conscious of what I was putting into my body. And so, I have to kind of set guidelines that I myself try to live by. Like, and so, it was one of those things where like we needed to have a guideline for soda. And so, great. I wish Darce was here because her laugh about it is the best. Also, how she laughs about it is awesome.
Yeah.
So
that's super fun. So speaking of, you mentioned being very much aware at a young age of what you put in your body, how you took care of your body. Talk to us a little bit, John, about your years as a young boy growing up in Mesa, Arizona. Talk to us about what that looked like, about your family dynamics, about your hopes, your dreams, about what it was like as a young boy.
I mean, I feel very grateful for the situation that I grew up in. Like, I think the person that my dad was and the person that my mom was fit very well for me in the direction I was trying to go. We talk about the word like aware. Like, I feel like I was always aware of where I wanted to go. Like, some kids, they don't know what they want to be until a little bit later in life. And that's totally fine. Like, some of my kids, my own children feel that way, and that's totally fine. I was very aware of a young age at what I wanted to be. And I felt this guiding kind of person in my life of my dad who had been a collegiate athlete. And I watched my dad live his life in a manner where I knew he was very disciplined. I knew he was a really hard worker. The way that he communicated with me about what it was going to take to achieve goals and dreams, I just ate that up. Like, it was like speaking my language. My heart accepted all those things with like a belief that is good wisdom and the right path. And I love that. And then on my mom, what she brought was this kindness, this support, this always willing to do whatever it needed to be done and do it in kindness and with tons of patience. But then also she had this awesome, some of my best memories of my mom are being picked up from elementary school and seeing fishing rods in the back of the car and a bucket and knowing we're going down to the park to catch some fish. And she'd swing us by a gas station and get like these big, huge Otter Pops that were called ice ticklers. And in Mesa, Arizona, man, there's some hot days. And so it was just like, dude, that's awesome that I have a mom that does those things. And so it was really cool because growing up, there was this, I knew what I wanted to be. I knew that they could feel it and see it as well. And so I felt so much support from them. But my dad also, because of what he knew the path was, he was also really hard on me, but not in a way there was a few moments that maybe crossed the line a little bit that maybe my dad looking back now might be like, oh yeah, I probably shouldn't have done it like that. But it never made me question how he felt about me or anything like that. Like, it fit really well. And even though it was really tough at times, I still loved it because I felt like I had a little edge in terms of understanding hard work and discipline and all of these things that was going to separate me from the people I was going to have to compete against. And the reality was I was this scrawny little late developer, and that brought a lot of challenges with it. And so to have my dad that kind of had to live a similar path because he was a late developer and, he didn't choose football, but there's just so many similarities. And I used that as a safe place to build strength from of he knows. And so he's helping me. And so I'm going to follow that. And I believe good things will happen. And so that's kind of the gist of our home. It was I have the kindest, most loving mom you could ever ask for. And I have a dad that was always willing to work hard and sacrifice for us, but hold us to a really tough, high standard. Like he made my brother and I work like crazy at times. And there were times that we felt like, why the crap is dad so hard on us? But I mean, before my brother passed away last year, like we had a lot of conversations on the phone of how grateful we were that our dad was like that, because he did understand what was going to benefit us down the road. And although we might have complained when we were younger, it was great things for us.
Where do you think, John, that passion you spoke of, that direction, that having a goal, where did that come from? Do you feel like you always had that? Do you feel like it was instilled in you by your parents? Do you feel like, was there any part of you that was tying some kind of goal to your identity, and that's what, that's what drove you?
Yeah, no, I feel like, I don't even know if there's words to describe it other than like, you feel it in your like insides of like, I am so drawn to that I can't, like, why would I want to choose anything but that? And I still had like other passions, like things that I enjoyed as like hobbies or, it's funny. I was watching like A River Runs Through It the other day with my kids, and hearing the two boys laying on the side of the river talking about what they want to be when they grow up, like it just made me smile. Because, they're like, oh, I'm going to be a boxer. I'm going to be the little brother's like, I'm going to be a professional fly fisherman. And the older brother's like, you can't be that. And he's like, well, then I guess I'll just be a boxer. Anyway, like that like singular thing in your world of like, I don't really care to choose anything else but that. Like, so I don't remember like thinking about what I wanted to be or like choosing between things. It was literally this feeling from the inside of like, what was living inside of me was so drawn to that path and lane. There was never anything else I wanted to be,
Awesome.
Which made it really fun. Like, although there was a lot of hard work, that like you feel the hard work, like it's not easy, right? If that's what it's going to take, I think the willingness came from within, to the point where like I enjoyed it. Like I enjoyed the extra work. It's something I've thought a lot about because I've had parents of quarterbacks I train ask, how can I get my kid to do this? How can I get my kid to want to work hard all the time? Like, you're not going to get a kid to want to work hard all the time. What you want is that they feel for moments here or there what it feels like to want to put in the extra work and know that it's going to help them. No 12, 13, 14-year-old kid is going to feel like that all the time. You just need a little bit here or there. And then they feel what that propels them towards. And then that builds. At least that's my belief on it, is that things are always growing. There is no kid that just shows up on this planet and they're like naturally just, they got it all figured out in terms of that aspect, But like when I watched movies growing up that were very inspirational movies, my emotions were triggered in the area, in the direction of where I knew I wanted to go. And so I was very drawn to inspirational movies like the movie Rudy, an underdog story.
Yeah.
Like that movie to me just hit home in so many ways. And I think I'm drawn to movies like that. Like I always have been. I love those type of things because that's where everything kind of like came from for me. Just came from this place of like a passion and a drive and a love for something.
Yeah. What's interesting, John, about you to me is you made reference to it a few minutes ago in regards to, I remember when I first met you, we mentioned that a little bit ago, back in 2003. You were dating my sister and you were the BYU quarterback at the time. And
I don't think things had gone well that year either. We lost a lot of games.
Yeah. But I remember meeting you, man, and being like, wait a minute, he's like an average guy. Now, I don't mean that with any disrespect.
No, it just made me laugh. Yeah, no.
But I like you and I are almost identical in our size, in our height, in our weight, in our, physical build. And I just remember thinking, you're not like an overpowering physical specimen.
No, I'm not going to be the guy that walks in a room and somebody goes, oh, that guy's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, You made mention a few minutes ago, you referenced being small and like late
Yeah.
to develop as a young boy and even through high school. It's really fascinating to me, and I'm curious if you can speak to, and maybe you already did in what you just talked about, but what for us lay people, for us people who, I can speak for myself, definitely my dream was to be in the NBA. You know, I wanted to be a professional basketball player when I was a little boy. That was my dream. And I think that's a very common dream. There may be other dreams that are very lofty, very big, but what is it that sets you apart? What is it that, you know, with not extraordinary physical attributes, or, you know, you're definitely an exceptional athlete, but, you know, like you said, you're not walking into a room and people are being like, oh, that guy
Yeah.
is a professional athlete, or that guy could break me in half, or that guy could jump out of the gym, or, you know, any of these
Yeah.
things. What is it that sets people apart like yourself that, for all intents and purposes, maybe mostly physical, are pretty average? Not average, but, you know, pretty like
Yeah. And
like
yeah.
like the standard person.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Like,
How did you
especially in the
go
space.
through what you went through as a boy and through high school, being undersized, being late to develop, and earn scholarship offers from big universities and ultimately become the BYU quarterback? I think it's fair to say, uh, for anyone who has studied BYU, the history of BYU football, you would be listed as one of the top 5, if not at least top 10 quarterbacks to ever play at BYU. What set you apart?
You know, it's funny because when you go back to where probably my mind and my heart were as a kid, you know, you don't fully comprehend, you know, what the road is going to look like or what it's going to take. I think I had like a great desire. I think I loved the chase, the pursuit of it, just because, like, you know, when I would go watch Arizona State football games. So I grew up not far from Tempe, and my family had season tickets for ASU football. And I didn't watch the game as a fan. Like, I loved to walk down from our seats and try to peek over the fence to get a field level view because I really wanted to be out on a college football field. I played at Mountain View High School, which was a powerhouse in the 90s. And a friend of ours had a brother that was the JV coach, and he would get us down on the field sometimes for games. I never watched games as a fan. It was always, I'm going to be there someday. Like, and I believe that. And there was also this belief of like, my work to get there has already started. A lot of like late nights of playing catch with my dad. And when my dad and I would play catch, there was conversations about what it was going to take, conversations about drive, conversations about how to separate yourself, conversations about how to strive for perfection, which, you know, at times I look back now and, you know, perfectionism is such a tricky thing to kind of decipher because there's good and bad to it. But it was just alive and flowing. And it was something that I feel like I believed in myself, of like, I'm going to work, I'm going to believe, I'm going to go after it. And, you know, I maybe because some people when I was young kind of would scoff at when I would share my belief in myself with like you really think that? There was a thing inside of me of like, who do you think you are to act like that somehow I can't? Like, I just thought it was dumb on their part, you know? Well, like, I don't need you to believe in me anyway. Like, I believe in myself. And again, going back to my dad, I believed that he had a perspective of a path that, like, if I followed it, it was going to give me an opportunity. You know, I don't know, like, I think just like this innate, well, why not me? Like, who says it has to be other people? Or who says it has to be the guys that look the part when they're 12, 13, and 14? Like, it doesn't need to look like it right now. I'm chipping away at this thing. with a belief that when I do grow and when I do look more the part, it'll work out. And, it's kind of interesting because even still to this day, I could bring some NFL quarterbacks that I've worked with and I could sit them right here in this seat. And a lot of people would not believe that they too are NFL quarterbacks. And so I think innately built into people's journey along the way, there are these points that, okay, which direction are you going to take? What's your belief style going to be? What are you going to do when adversity hits? What are you going to do when people are shaking their head like, no, you're not going to be this? The truth is I didn't receive a ton of scholarships right out of high school. Like my bigger scholarships came actually like after I'd played my senior year of football. And for some of them, even after I go home from my mission. So I never was like the blue chip recruit. It was always this that same path from when I was little. Just I'm doing this because of what it feels like, this thing inside of me.
Yeah.
And you know what? And it just feels like that's who I am. I feel like I was just living true to who I am, not for like anybody else, not to prove to any of the kids that would like scoff at me. Like I really didn't care what they thought. I just felt like, well, this is what I feel like on the inside. And so that's what I'm going to do.
I love it. That's awesome, man. Did you feel like an underdog? Did you feel like a Rudy?
Oh yeah. Not when I was like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, but when I hit like 13, 14, 15, absolutely. Like when everybody else started to take off and I did not. I absolutely did, because it started to happen where coaches overlooked me. It started to happen where the coaches picked the other guy. Like in 8th grade football, I was not selected to be the starting quarterback. My coach actually came to me in the weight room, and I remember this clear as day. I was on the pull down machine and he was putting chapstick on, and he's like, I remember it.
Listen, can I just pause you? Don't forget what you're going to say.
Yeah.
I have to just say to that, one thing I've always loved about you is you have a remarkable memory.
Oh, of like like what it looks like.
When you tell stories, when you reach back into your memory bank and you tell a memory or a story from your life, it's in vivid detail. Anyway,
okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
I love that about you.
You know what? And like, this just kind of hit as you said that to me. The detail of moments stick with me. And I think that was like that as a kid all growing up also. Like, I feel it now as I'm talking. I still know what it felt like and what it looked like to play catch with my dad at night with a belief that like, I can do this. Mr. Green, putting on chapstick. Look, kid, I know you want to be a quarterback, and I know you and your dad are always out practicing, and you got a good arm, but you're never going to be a high school quarterback. You're going to thank me one day that I said you need to go choose another position, because if you want any chance at playing in high school, it's going to have to probably be receiver or something. And so we're going to play the other guy as the starter. But I want you to be a receiver. You'll thank me one day. That's what he said. And I literally remember, I just thought he was the biggest idiot on the planet. Like, you are so dumb. I am not listening to a word you say. If playing receiver is the only thing you're going to give me, I'll go out there and try to be the best receiver I can be. And in between things at practice, I would try to practice quarterbacking stuff. And I'd be like, all right, well, at the end of the day, this playing wide receiver is going to help me run around and be elusive as a quarterback. So it's like, I would always try to find the positive in whatever was happening to me. And I think like innately I'm a positive person. And I think that like, however that came about, it might've been because of circumstances that weren't always like set up great for me. I had to find like, well, how can I spin this in the positive to help me in the long run? But that was kind of the beginning of like that 7th, 8th grade and 9th grade. Feeling like an underdog, watching 6 foot, 150 pound kids in 9th grade and me being 5'5", 110, definitely that underdog. I'm going to have to work twice as hard as everybody else. And that's where my dad's words to me really helped. I think what he helped me do was kind of like delayed gratification. What do a lot of people struggle with, right? Believing and working towards something that might be a few years out. Like one of my favorite quotes ever is, it takes 10 years to become an overnight success. Like when a lot of people are like, man, where'd this person come from? Behind the scenes, that person has been working tirelessly for years. And so it was like this belief of like, it's okay that it's not really working out like what you would hope it would be right now. But if you just stay on the path and you keep believing, really good things can happen down the road. And so there was like this, okay, I'm the underdog, but I am okay with like signing up with working twice as hard as everybody else. That did mean there was a lot of sacrifice. Like my family was not a family that, got to do a lot of the extracurricular activities or have a lot of the toys or whatnot. But it was with a belief that at the end of the day, like it'll work out.
So John, you now, as your career, you train quarterbacks, you coach, you have a degree and credentials in performance psychology, sports physiology, exercise physiology. All of that combined with your life experience, what would you say are some of the most important things for young athletes, young performers to achieve optimal or peak performance? And what are some of the things that you try to instill in the people that you train to help them reach their goals?
Yeah, it's a great question, because I feel like there's a lot of different layers to where the athlete is at. Like if we're talking young athletes that are beginning the dream, there has to be a willingness. There has to be a drive and a willingness to do what it's going to take. Like the truth is, are there times that there are boys and girls that are just at younger ages gifted with, whether you call it like natural talent, natural abilities, their maturity level is a little bit more advanced than others. And so they can excel earlier. Like, yes, there are sometimes those kids that like maybe with just like the natural or normal practice schedule, they can excel. But the reality is, if that is you in the beginning, I think it becomes a little bit tougher to be as willing later on. Because when you have felt success only giving that much, I have seen that those athletes start to then point the finger around of why it's not working out. It's because of this. It's because of this. Because to themselves, I have already found some success doing the basics. So when you want to reach peak level performance, the younger ages, I believe it's good to have some challenges along the way. It's good to feel like you have to do more. And so like, that's why I say is a willingness. Like when you have an opportunity to give more, are you willing to do it? When things don't work out, are you willing then to go back and say, what more can I do? Or can I do a better job? Can I work smarter? We live in a very interesting world. When I talk to the younger athletes, like I have an opportunity to work with junior high, high school athletes, quarterbacks, so much that they want to do is compare to what other people's stories are. Well, why are these people getting scholarships in 8th grade and I'm not? It's too comparative. Like the truth is about most of those scholarships is they're not real anyway. They're not committable scholarships. It's not a reality. It paints this picture that to the one kid, it looks real, but that's not the reality that like is actually going on around you. So I would say like avoid comparisons, avoid trying to stack up or find out where you rank at younger ages. It's not about that. It's about conditioning yourself to be willing to do what it takes and to love it and to enjoy it. You shouldn't be putting in the extra work because of fear of failure. You shouldn't be putting in the extra work because of a performance anxiety that if you don't, it's not going to be what you thought it was going to be. It should be because I love doing this and I understand that if I want to do this for a long time and get somewhere with it, I have to be willing for all the hard stuff. As you go up, so much of it is about how you handle circumstances. When I talk to the professionals, these guys have gone through all those stages. They're at the top. How do you handle all of the things that you can't always plan for or account for? How do you handle adversity? How do you handle setbacks? How do you handle the criticism? How do you handle the success at times? How do you train like you care so much about it, but how do you walk into the arena and let go of the scoreboard? Like that is such a hard thing to do because we live in such an outcome-driven world. How do you train because you know that outcome matters, but then go and perform letting go of the outcome? That is such a secret that like even the best of the best, maybe a game, they do a great job of that. And then the next game, the reality is they know it themselves. I could have done a better job of that. And as you start creeping up the levels, when you start getting paid even more, there is so much pressure on those guys that you may from the outside feel like they've already achieved so much. I bet they don't feel the same pressure. They don't feel the same pressure they used to. They feel a different pressure. Now a pressure to perform at such a high level because they're being paid $50, $60 million a year now. And there's an expectation of top 3 in the league in passing yards, top 3 in touchdowns, got to be up for MVP. I mean, the truth is the pressure never goes away. And so they're constantly working on ways to be able to handle that and improve in that.
That's fascinating, actually. Like, it seems like if you can combine everything you just talked about, the hard work, the dedication, the drive, the willingness to put in the hours, have some talent, of course, have a dream, have a vision, have support, and then somehow be able to perform from the heart and not from the head.
You want to hear a cool story?
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant, he would listen to the songs he listened to in high school before big games in the NBA. And the reason why, that is the most fun he had. It's very difficult when you live in a world of so much pressure to go back to that place of fun.
Yeah.
I just love it.
Yeah.
You know, unfortunately, I was on some bad teams in the NFL. And so you're sitting there and you're watching the team captain stand up, address the team. We have to right the ship. We got to turn this around. And a lot of the times it was, we need to play like we're kids again. We need to just let go of all of this worrying about like, you know, we're 0-10, we're struggling here. Like, guys, just let it go. Let's just, as a group, let's just get back to like we're playing in the street. You know, the cool part about growth and development as a young athlete, like this is something nowadays as well. So much of youth sports nowadays is about private lessons, club teams. There is so much scheduled time. And there's a belief that the more scheduled practices I go to or the more time with a private coach I go to, the better I'm going to be. If you go talk to the guys that are at the peak of their sport right now and say, what helped you the most? They're going to say all the hours that I spent as a kid playing unscripted basketball, football, baseball. That was that's that place where I play free. You know, go watch Patrick Mahomes, arguably the best quarterback in the NFL right now, taking his team to the Super Bowl like 4 of the last 6 years, I think, or something like that. Like, you know, the guy plays like that still.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that that's like a secret to life as well. Take away athletics. Just talk about like us in life. There are so many demands on us as humans. You know, there's so much pressures that we face. Like, I try to make sure, you know, and you got to like keep yourself at check at times of like, am I still living from a place where like I can feel all those things that I want to feel, like that passion, that love. That's why I love having my sons. It's just such a good reminder.
Yeah.
You know, because like I try to make sure that that's what I'm instilling in them. And it's such a good reminder of like, well, if I want them to be doing that, I have to be doing that as well too, you know?
Yeah.
I got to fish with my boys the other day. That's a place that I feel like that, you know? And yeah, you just have to keep that. It's tough. And like when dudes go play in the Super Bowl, when guys are playing for the NFC Championship, they're trying to remind themselves of that in that moment. And they're just trying to like, I just got to go cut it loose.
Yeah.
Like I just got to go play and have fun.
Yeah.
Fun is such a big deal.
Yeah.
It's making me think of a little statement that I came up with this like probably 10 years ago, 8 years ago. And it was because of my own lived experiences. Because were there times that I fell short of that? 100%. Were there times in the NFL that I was playing to not make a mistake? Yeah. Like, and that's why I went into the performance side of things. That's why I love the conversations I have with my quarterbacks. Like, everybody feels that. But I came up with this little statement that I give my kids all the times now before their games. Whenever they are getting out of the car or going onto the field, I say have, they say fun. I say do, they say my best. I say enjoy, they say the challenge. I say believe, they say in me. And then I say go get them. And the reason I came up with that was because there's key words. Fun. Like, guys, you got to have fun. I don't want you putting the pads on. I don't want you putting the cleats on. Like, I don't want you doing that fearfully. I want you to do it because at the end of the day, you have fun doing this, right? Like, this is why you chose this, right? And like, you can only ever do your best. In the games that I felt like I underperformed and that I was disappointed in myself, it's because I was trying to do even more than my best. It was like the opponent was here and I was well aware that my team was here. And I wanted to be able to make up that difference. And so what am I going to do? I was raised to be a hard worker. I'm going to put in the extra effort. I'm going to do all this stuff. And like, you can experience a burnout by trying to do too much, trying to do more than just your best. Like, one of the things that if I could go back in time, it would be to try to help myself understand, like, just focus on doing your best. Like, that's it. And at the end of the day, that may not equal winning. That's where I could have got better as a younger person, was like, I was highly competitive, which was great, especially when you're on good teams. Be highly competitive and on a good team, it's great. It's satisfying. Yeah. What happens when you're highly competitive and the team is struggling? That's tough because you're trying to find a way to get back to winning. But hey, just do your best. Like, that's all that matters. Just do your best. And then I wanted them to enjoy challenges. So many times in life, when something feels so daunting, we have these things inside of us that trigger like a safety response, a fight or flight. Like, we want to protect ourselves. If we've experienced something that hurts bad, disappointment, the feeling of failure, the feeling of falling short, it sucks and it hurts. And at times you can feel, without even knowing that you're doing it, protecting yourself from feeling that again. And so sometimes when a challenge is coming your way that feels extremely daunting and overwhelming, that protective mechanism goes in. Well, the best guys that I've been around, they've trained themselves to want challenges. No, I want that challenge because I love that feeling of going after the challenge and being stretched. And if I fail, yes, I will be disappointed, but then I want to go and get another challenge like that again and go after it and do better. Like, so I wanted them to like go towards challenges, lean into the wind, lean into the hard, and look at it as something that you enjoy. And then believe, but like, believe in me is what I have them say. Like, I love that I end it with me. It's not about me. Like, you're not doing this for me. You're not doing this for mom. You're not doing this for any other person. Where does your belief have to come from? Your belief has to come from here, from your own self. And we've been doing that with all those boys for a long time, and I love it. And it's been great. And I hope that they kind of are like, my goal is that somewhere down the road, when they are going through something challenging, that little thing is in their memory, and that they'll fall back on that and be like, yeah, I am going to believe in me. I am going to enjoy this challenge. Like, I am going to do my best. And at the end of the day, I may fail, but you know what? I gave it my best, Yeah. And I had fun doing it.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. I love that.
Thanks.
So was it 2003? You started at BYU?
Yeah. That was my first year.
So you get a scholarship to go to BYU, and talk us through, John, what your experience was like as a BYU quarterback. I mean, BYU is essentially a worldwide educational institution because it's a church-owned school. The church is worldwide. There's people all over the world who are interested in, who follow, who cheer for BYU.
Yeah.
And here is John Beck from Mesa, Arizona, underdog, like you've described, about to go be the BYU quarterback. Talk us through what that experience was like. Talk us through some of your challenges, some of your incredible experiences. Talk us through what it was like to be in that bright of a spotlight.
Well, I should probably start by saying that all started before my mission when I was getting recruited by them. I actually did not receive a scholarship to BYU until the summer after my senior year. They had committed somebody else. I had just come off winning Player of the Year for the state of Arizona. I was on a really good team. We won the state. I was able to break some records. And so it was as good of a year as I could have had. And BYU only said, hey, we would love to have you come and walk on. Arizona State and UCLA were some other schools. Oregon was also recruiting me, but because of going on a mission, they weren't going to offer any scholarship to somebody leaving for 2 years. And so there was some disappointment of, oh my gosh, like I was just a Player of the Year and the best I get from BYU is a walk-on. Like, to be honest, I was kind of mad at them. But there was a recruiting guy there named Chris Pella that had convinced my parents and me if John would come up and work out with the football team and take a few classes to prepare him for his mission, I think it could be a really good thing. A few weeks into that, some of the players, actually one of them was Kalani Sitake, now the head coach, was going into the coaching staff and saying, how come this guy is saying that he's not a scholarship guy, but he's, and that I didn't know if I was going to go there. The truth is, it was June of 2000, and I had not committed anywhere. The only thing I knew was I was going on a mission, but that's it. Where I was going to end up was open. And so that was kind of like, even on my mission, I committed to BYU right before my mission. They finally offered me a scholarship. I committed there, but I was unsure of what the situation was going to be when I got back because Lavelle Edwards retired. And so I came back to a new coaching staff at BYU, a new coaching staff at Arizona State that would go to my parents' house all the time. They emailed me all the time on my mission. There was other staffs, UCLA staff would call all the time. So it was very still open. And so when I did choose BYU, I did it because it felt like this is what feels like I'm supposed to be at this place. And I share that because through the difficulty, I fell back on that feeling. I was actually at the downtown Marriott on a recruiting trip, and a friend of mine that was at the missionary training center teaching Portuguese said, you should come visit me and you should sit in as a fake investigator. Sure, buddy. It'd be great to see you. Well, I had no means of transportation. And in my mind, I was like, I'll just walk there. And I kind of realized that's a long walk, but I'll cut across the football field, the practice field. This will be awesome. I hop the fence. I'm walking across. It's probably early November. The leaves are falling a little bit. And I just had this feeling. And I heard the music from the movie Rudy inside of me. And I was like, man, this is where I'm supposed to be. At that time, I hadn't recommitted yet. It was open of where I was going to go. Well, 2003, I am the backup quarterback, and my first pass attempt as a college football player was an interception. And it was really tough. I remember leaving the stadium that evening, and I ripped my parking pass down off my car, and I threw it down on the ground. I was so mad. I later found out when I went back asking for my next parking pass for the next game that was my pass for the season. And so it was gone.
Oh, shoot.
Your sister actually left a voice message on my phone that night. Very positive. Keep your head up. That was really cool of her to do that as well. But it was tough. A couple games later, the starter breaks his hand. I become the starting quarterback. I think we go 1-3. I felt very responsible. This will sound funny, but this is kind of the way I think I've always been wired. When I'm working really hard towards something, I don't want to let people down. And I remember, I think I had lost my second start in a row, I think we lost to Stanford and we lost to Air Force. And I remember calling some of the senior captains and apologizing. Hey man, I'm sorry. I feel like if I was doing a better job, we would have won those games. And I promise, I work as hard as I possibly can to get this thing right. It's funny because looking back now, was I really prepared to go over and take over a team having just come off of a mission? And I hadn't played football in 3 years, but that was kind of the mindset. And the next year was a huge challenge. And we, underperformed that year. I was a starting quarterback, and, there were some good games, But at the end of the day, we didn't win enough games and the coach got fired. And I remember feeling like responsible for that as well. Like Gary Croton was the head coach. He was a good man. And I'm watching him get fired because we're underperforming and I'm the starting quarterback. And then we bring in a new coach and it's Bronco Mendenhall and we win 6 games and we go to a bowl game and we lose in the bowl game. I just remember feeling of like, when I walked across that field that day, I had no idea that it was going to be like this. I had no idea we were going to lose so much. I had never lost so much in football in my life. When you're the BYU starting quarterback, like the head coach and the quarterback, I mean, you are in a position where, like you said, everybody knows you. Everybody wants to give their 2 bits of like, I mean, I can't tell you the number of times that I was stopped by people. Oh man, I think you guys should be doing this. One time I was in Cafe Rio and we had lost to Notre Dame and Barb was working. I went to go get some food by myself and this person just sits down at my table and just starts going on about all of the things that I should be doing different and why the team's underperforming. And I just remember like, it can get crazy at times. But you do feel this huge responsibility as the BYU quarterback because of there's a legacy. And I loved the opportunity to have that challenge. Like there's all these great BYU quarterbacks and I was well aware of all of them. Because of my dad's, that BYU was his alma mater. We grew up following BYU on TV. We would go to the bowl games. If I look at somebody inspirational in my life, like Ty Detmer when I was a young kid, to have somebody win the Heisman Trophy, to have somebody be 6 foot, 180 pounds, dripping wet, and go out there and throw for 5,000 yards. And I mean, that was like, and the way that he played, the style that he played, the gunslinger, like I just like, that just captured my imagination. It captured like everything. Like I loved it. And so to like the legacy of guys before him, I love that opportunity to go have that challenge of wanting to be a part of it and wanting to be a great one as well. So to have those feelings, to have that belief in myself, I was doing everything the best that I could to that point in my life from a knowledge standpoint, from a work ethic standpoint, and to be met with so much loss. It was so tough. And like every year it was like, well, we got to battle again to be the starting quarterback. Like the coach gets fired. Hey, the job's open now. Now it's a battle again, and then my senior year, we start the first game of the season losing. And I injured my ankle so bad. I thought I for sure broke my right ankle and potentially maybe my left one. And after the game, I was sitting there like, what is happening? To have all of that then turn around and that 2006 season end up so great. It was, it's that whole just sticking to something, as a team, right? Like our team showed a lot of grit. Our team showed a lot of fight. And to have my senior year kind of culminate in a win at Utah on an amazing final play, one that's lived on. I mean, it's now almost 20 years later and I still do interviews about that play. And, it's funny, like, are there parts of that memory that have faded a little bit? There are, but are there parts that are just still in there that I can remember clear as day through my face mask? It's there. It's cool. I feel like that was kind of like those parts of my life where I needed to be that kid of what I was growing up to get through that other part at BYU. Because I think it would have been easy to just let tons of doubt and fear and all of that creep in when things weren't working out like I had hoped.
Yeah. I have to ask, since you mentioned I think they call it the answered prayer.
Yeah.
The Beck to Harline pass to beat Utah. Is that one of your greatest experiences at BYU? Is that?
Yeah.
I mean, weren't you carried off the field on the shoulders of your teammates? And I mean, I can't even imagine what that must have been like.
No, it was unbelievable. Going back to the sport performance side of things, like you asked about what helps people play at peak performance, like we had come up short the year before in a very similar situation. And I had spent a lot of time going through all of the possible ways that maybe I could have done something different. And when Utah scored with like a minute 20, whatever left, I remember having to go through a process of like, here's how we're going to take the field. Here's how I want my mental space to be in. Here's how I want my emotional space to be in. I don't have to rush to get down the field. I can methodically move down the field. I was very aware of the situation. What timeouts did we have? All of that stuff. But I still remember clear as day the moment before that play snapped. I remember looking up at the scoreboard and seeing the time left and just feeling very comfortable. Did I, in that moment, think about having to let the outcome go? I don't remember that thought, but I just remember a feeling of calm, very clear-minded, very like muscles in a, not a tense space, but in just a playing as if it was any other play, you know? And that also was a really cool experience, because then, you know, however long it took, like 15 seconds for the play to play out, it was a very backyard play. Like, it did not play out scripted. It was very unscripted. So we talked earlier about like, can you go play like you did at the park? That was a very much a play at the park type play. And then to have it just erupt, like I've never had, and I know I never will ever again, like have an experience where right when that ball was like caught and I realized it was a touchdown, pandemonium, like jumping on people, like the cameras were on the field immediately. Such a cool sports moment. And you know, the thing that you don't fully understand in that moment, I had no kids then. I also didn't understand the impact that would have, like my kids, like they want to reenact that play and I'm on the receiving end of it. And
That's so cool.
It's been funny for them to like be places and have people mention it on an airplane. Oh, I was at my brother-in-law's house. That was the coolest, you know, or Disneyland in a line. Can I get a picture? Like, oh my gosh, that's my favorite BYU play. You don't even realize the impact of the next 20 years of your life that a single play can have.
Yeah.
But it's been cool.
It really was one of the most incredible
It's still wild
plays I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was amazing. I was in dental school in North Carolina watching the game, streaming it. We had to stream it on the internet because we didn't have access to, you know, any channels back in North Carolina that carried the games.
Oh yeah, what was that? The Mountain or whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we were watching it. I was watching it with a bunch of other dental students, and man, I remember it like it was yesterday. It was incredible.
It was fun.
Yeah. When you consider your romantic relationship, are you ready to turn your fear into love, your judgment into curiosity, what seems like drudgery and work into play, your attachment into authenticity, your codependence into sovereignty? Are you ready to laugh more, sing and dance more, have mind-blowing sex, the kind where you meet the divine when you make love? Are you ready to connect on a level that you could have never imagined, first to yourself and then to your partner? Are you ready to start living? Are you ready to love and be loved without conditions, without keeping score? Are you ready to be seen and to see your partner? If you answered yes to the above, sign up for our couples retreat, More Than Love, held in a luxurious 7,000 square foot cabin in Bryan Head, Utah, September 19th through the 21st. Having divine union with your partner is not only possible, you deserve it. But it takes work. It takes understanding how and why you've been stuck in unconscious loops and patterns that were created long ago to keep you safe and to protect you, and how all of that protective armor around your heart is now weighing you down. It's preventing you from breathing. It's keeping you playing small. It's preventing connection to your higher self and to your partner. It's time to take off the masks. It's time to put the armor down. It's time to discover your authentic self. It's time to create true safety. Safety for you to be you and for your partner to be them. At this 3-day retreat, you will learn the why behind the loops and patterns that create disconnection from yourself and your partner. How to bring to your conscious awareness why you are the way you are and why your partner is the way they are. How to discover your unconscious wounding and how to heal it. How to effectively handle rupture and repair. How to heal, comfort, hold, and love your inner child. How to integrate your shadow. How to get out of your head and into your body so that you can be present. How to feel safe in your body. How to get good at feeling your feelings and sensations and to understand that they are messengers for you, trying to give you important information. How to progress toward authentic living. How to handle the delicate dance of sovereignty and connection. How to heal your sexuality. How to regulate your nervous system. How to manage your triggers. how to step into your divine masculine and feminine. If you're ready to feel safe to be seen, if you want more than love, this retreat is for you. So click on the link in the show notes to apply. Well, so experienced some adversity, some challenge at BYU for sure. Nothing new to you, as you mentioned, growing up with some challenges related to your size, to kind of being an underdog. Your relationship to adversity would continue on in the NFL. You were drafted in the second round by the Miami Dolphins. Walk us through, John, what your experience was like as an NFL quarterback in regards to what you expected, hoped, dreamed, and what was reality. Some of the challenges, some of the adversity that you faced.
Yeah.
Speak to that if you would.
Okay. Yeah, I would say the challenges of BYU were more than I could have anticipated. But this feeling at the end, like I remember Barb is the one that got me into journaling. I was not a journaler at all. Even on my mission, I tried to do a little bit here or there. But she was the one that challenged me to, like, it's really important to write in your journal. And so I wrote in my journal at the end of my senior year. And I remember the feeling of that was way tougher. There was so much more adversity than I ever could have anticipated. Even though I had those experiences growing up of challenges and all of that, and I had to kind of fight an uphill battle. It was more uphill at BYU than I could have anticipated. And so it was a feeling, though, of like, I was grateful for it because everything I had heard about the NFL was it's going to be very challenging as well. And so I viewed it as kind of like an armor that I kind of like had gained, or a strength I had gained that was going to help me. And so first off, getting drafted is amazing. It's so fun because it's been a lifelong dream since you were a kid to hear your name called. And I had watched all the drafts. I had watched all the combines. My dad would actually videotape the combine on a VHS and mail them to me at BYU. And I would watch all of them. So excited for my opportunity. Like, I remember when I was going to the combine, from my experience, just how excited I was to go out there and perform against the other quarterbacks. And so, all the little points along the way had gone really, really well. The interview process had gone really, really well. The private workouts had gone really, really well. It felt like good things are going to happen. And when the Miami Dolphins selected me, it was awesome. It was the coach that had been the offensive coordinator for Drew Brees. My interactions with him during the pre-draft process were awesome. With the GM, they went great. I was so excited for the opportunity. Not to mention the fishing opportunities that were going to be down in Fort Lauderdale and Miami. Yeah. People always be like, John, what was it you got, the first thing you bought when you got drafted? I bought this really nice fly rod. I had always wanted a Sage fly rod. And I thought this is going to be so cool to be down in Florida and fish the Keys. So anyway, it just seemed like this cool thing. And not to mention also, my first son was born like 2.5 weeks before the draft, about 2.5, 3 weeks. It was a very exciting time of life. And so me, Barb, and Ty, we got this little newborn, and we're staying in the team hotel. And the way that the organization was talking to me was also very exciting. You're our guy. We want you to be the starting quarterback. Here's the plan. We're going to put you on the Phillip Rivers, Aaron Rodgers. You're going to be a backup for a number of years. We're going to develop you the right way. We're not rushing you to the field at all. This is the best way to develop somebody to have long-term success in the NFL. Too many quarterbacks get ruined by being thrust out there too soon, by not being really prepared. This is going to be awesome. We have these Hall of Famers on defense: Zach Thomas, Jason Taylor. Ronnie Brown was a first-round draft pick running back from, I believe, like the year before. Like, man, we got some pieces. This is going to be really, really good. And the preseason goes well. And then all of a sudden, the regular season hits, and we can't win a football game. And then Trent Green, the quarterback that was brought in to be the veteran quarterback, he gets knocked out for the year. And I think 9 games into the season, we're 0-9. And they come to me and say, we're going to start you. We play the Philadelphia Eagles, which they're either the number 1 or number 2 defense in the league in Philly. Hey, we're going to start you this week. And I remember just like, all right, well, here we go. It's not even at all like what we anticipated. But, hey, I'm just going to go out there and do the best that I can, throw my hat out there. I mean, throw my, name in the hat, as you may say, like a guy trying to succeed in the NFL. And it's happened a little earlier than we all thought. And there were a lot of good people in the building, like, hey, bro, just go do the best you can. Like, this is tough. You are in such a tough spot. Like, just go play. Let's see what happens. Anyway, we lose that game. We play on Monday Night Football the next week against the Steelers, which were again a top 3 defense, lose that one. And then I believe we play again against the Jets. We lose. And then we play at Buffalo and we're losing and I get yanked. And I remember just thinking like, holy crap. I never saw something like this happening. And so you have to go back to that like foundation of like, all right, well, I'm going to work. I'm going to believe. I'm going to stay positive. How can this experience help me? I'm going to try to take this disaster. Can it help me? At the end of the year, I got to play a little bit in a game, the final game of the season, but all a bunch of weird things, like I shouldn't say weird, but new things were happening. The owner sold the team. Everybody on the staff knew they were getting fired. My agent knew, what does that mean for me? That means the franchise is probably going to go draft a quarterback the next year, bring another quarterback in. I remember he was like, hey, John, like most likely you're going to be dead man walking. And I was like, I don't even know what that means. Like, what does dead man walking mean? When organizations whitewash, they will bring in everybody else new. And so here, April of 2007, I'm the 40th pick of the draft, being told you're going to be our guy for the future. And in January of 2008, I don't even know if the team's going to keep me the next year. That was tough. It's tough also as a provider, right? I have my wife, my child. We're wanting to add another. Like, does this mean we're not going to be in Miami anymore? Well, what am I going to do? I'm going to go to the things I know well. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to believe. I worked so hard that off season. I put in every minute you possibly could of working extra, of doing everything the new coaching staff was asking me to do. And it felt like it had earned me an opportunity to compete for the starting job. They brought in another quarterback. I was competing with him. And then I'm getting ready for the first preseason game, and Brett Favre goes to the Jets. The Jets release their quarterback. Chad Pennington comes to us. And in an instant, there goes any opportunity. And I just remember thinking like, holy crap, what a whirlwind. And it is, like I said, the BYU experience was bigger than anything I had experienced at that time in terms of challenges and adversity. And then all of a sudden, you're just dropped in another hole, it feels like. And the NFL is tough because, so much is dependent upon these circumstantial things. You have to have some things go in your favor. And to be at that time a little bit older than other guys my league age because of my mission, to have played in a handful of games but lost them all, you can feel that as how you're viewed, And anyway, it was a challenging number of years after that to go and be a backup other places and to tell myself, I'm going to keep working hard with a belief that another opportunity is going to come. And when that next opportunity came with the Washington Redskins, it was so exciting. It felt like all of this adversity I'd been through was so that this could go well. And the new coaching staff that had traded for me basically sat me down and said, hey, we watched what happened in Miami, and I've been following you the whole time. And I knew that if I had an opportunity to go get you, I was gonna. And I think you have the talent to be a starting quarterback in this league. And that felt like to have somebody say to you what you feel about yourself. This is awesome. This is going to be special. And a year later, I got to play in a game, and I think you were there against the Eagles, right?
Yeah.
And that was exciting. You and I went back to the facility afterwards, watched the game with me on tape, right?
Yep.
I mean, it felt like this is going to be awesome.
Yeah. That was an incredible experience to be there because, obviously we're huge fans, hoping for your shot, waiting for your shot. We're at the game. We were in dental school. It was a short drive up the coast. So we go to the game, and I can't remember the name of the quarterback that was
Rex Grossman.
That's right. Rex Grossman throws 4 interceptions in the first half. And I'm watching on the sidelines. Sorry, you have to remind me your coach's name.
Mike Shanahan.
I watched Shanahan look at you and say, you're going in. And I was there with Barb, my sister. And we just started jumping up and down, screaming and he finally getting a shot.
I felt that same way on the inside. Yeah. When the game wasn't going good and, Rex had thrown 3, I wondered, because he had kind of told me before, like, I want you to get an opportunity. Yeah. And when an opportunity's there, I want you to take it.
Yeah.
And I remember feeling like when he finally looked over, I was so excited to get on the field. And that's that part about like the challenge, right? Like there wasn't an ounce of me worried about what if this doesn't go well.
Mm-hmm.
I was just freaking so excited to get out there and play ball and have fun playing ball. And, it was against the Eagles. Like I watched the Eagles a ton. Like, the funny thing was that was my first start in the NFL was against the Eagles.
Yeah.
And so to have Andy Reid on the other side and to get that and play in that game. And Andy actually came up and gave me a big hug and was like, hey, I'm proud of you.
Good.
And like, that was way fun.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
So,
and then
I was going to say, can you elaborate on like how your NFL career and the turn that it took and where it ended?
Yeah. So then I'm named the starting quarterback, and the next few weeks, like I play pretty good against Carolina, but we lose. There's a big emphasis on we are in a tough spot as a team because the game that I became the starter, we lost 3 guys to injury. And then the next game I started and we lost 2 more guys to injury. And so we were really limping into a game, my second full start at a game in Canada against the Buffalo Bills. And I share this story because I learned so much from what emotional things can happen to you, even though you aren't knowing that they're happening. And in your best effort to do your best, you don't even realize like there's this internal thing going on that's wearing you out. And you feel like you're battling to do your best, when in reality, you don't even realize it, but you're not going to go out there and perform your best because of the tug of war. And so basically, like, I know we're in a tough spot. I know the Buffalo Bills are a little bit hot. They've had a lot of success defensively against some really good quarterbacks. And so I'm trying to prepare myself in a difficult situation. And if I just jump to the inside, to the thoughts, it was, you feel this large amount of responsibility for the decisions that are going to happen in the game that could potentially have negative outcomes, a consequence to your poor decision. And decisions in NFL football, the quarterback position, happen in a blink of an eye. And the reality is you make certain decisions based off of trust, not because of any visual information that guarantees success, but because there's an opportunity and a chance, and you trust that the guy on your end betters that chance. And so you take it with a belief and a confidence. Well, if at times you don't get to have that trust, or you don't feel that same way because of young players or inexperienced players, or like all bunch of different factors, that can inhibit your ability to make confident decisions. And then you start to feel the potential responsibility on your shoulders for, if decisions are made that don't go well, it then drops your team in a hole. And are we able to climb out of that hole? And so I remember going into that game trying to prepare so well because I felt such a gap of what needed to be done. And there was some experiences on the practice field that like validated the reality of where our team was at. And Kyle Shanahan was our offensive coordinator, high expectations, high demand coach. And so you're trying to meet those demands. Anyway, poor performance can happen because you get caught in this tug of war on the inside. You can work to be confident, and to do that, you're trying to shield off non-confident thoughts or doubt or worry. But that takes effort to do that in those circumstances. And you can burn yourself out with the thoughts and the emotions and the everything. And I won't go into all the detail, but the night before the game, we were in the team hotel and I'm in the offensive meeting. And I remember my eyes, like I felt so overly fatigued. I had never had an experience like that in all my years of football. And then on game day, the next day, I'm going through pregame warmups. In all of my sporting events, my entire life, football, baseball, you name it, I had never felt this like weird, like I feel off, to the point where I went to our equipment manager and I was like, hey, Anders, do I seem off at all? He's like, why? I'm like, I'm just curious. You've been around me a lot during pregame warmups. Do I seem different? He's like, I don't think so. Why? Even just the thought that I recognized something's a little off. I performed poorly. I play one more game and then I get benched. That like kind of like, oh my gosh, I thought this was going to be a great kind of like catapult to the place I believed I could be in. And instead it just, now the truth is most quarterbacks experience games like that, but because the organization is committed to that person, they play through those experiences. The downside for me was they benched a quarterback while our team had a winning record to give me an opportunity, and the opportunity did not go well. And so there wasn't the ability to play through that. There wasn't a like, let's bounce back. The following week, we had to go play the 49ers, which was one of the best defenses in the league. And so it was kind of like, our head coach's hands were tied. Like, what could he do? He had to bench me. But that kind of made me shift, and it's impacted me in all areas of my life. How I communicate with athletes, how I communicate as a coach, the type of parent that I am, in all areas of my life. Experiencing that moment impacted me in such a profound way because I had never experienced the emotional, the psychological, the pressure, all of that kind of coming together, and me feeling that like underperforming in a certain way that I had never experienced before. Which I don't know if I would have gone back to school for all those years to get 2 master's degrees in sport performance psychology. Like, I know I wouldn't have. Had I experienced the success I wanted and believed I could have, I don't go back to school. And, but because of that, I learned so many amazing things that have helped me parent, coach, all of that. So it's tough. I mean, do I still feel the disappointment? Yeah, of how it shook down, for sure. Do I still like have moments where I wished it could have gone differently? Absolutely. When I'm coaching other athletes or when I'm mentoring somebody and I can show empathy, understanding, I can communicate to them in a way that allows me to really impact them, well, then I wouldn't trade those experiences for anything, because then I feel like gratitude. Once you can distance yourself from the heartbreak, once the heart like doesn't hurt as bad anymore, and like, to be honest, it took a lot of journaling. It took a lot of moments of just, a lot of deer hunts, sitting up in the mountains, looking at deer, thinking about all these things, a lot of fishing, like I thought about and felt so many things for a long time to be able to like move away, to like look at those experiences now and be like, okay, did not go at all like I hoped. But I can see the reality of some of the things that were out of my control. I can see some of my errors. Can I look at that experience now and just say, that's okay that all that happened that way? Yeah, it's okay. Why? My kids are going to have experiences like that. I'm probably still going to have more experiences like that. And my true nature that I believe about myself, like my 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, like I loved the challenge of things. Like, well, I want to keep living like that too. Just because that part of my life like didn't go like I would have hoped, I don't want that to impact me negatively for what I want to do in the future. And I don't want that to like be something that then my kids, interpret as like, yeah, dad wished that wouldn't have happened. Okay, I'm disappointed. Do I believe that things could have gone better? Yeah, but it didn't. That's life. Sometimes you just have to say, it didn't work out like I would have hoped. That didn't work out like I would have hoped, but that's okay. And what can I take from that? And now what can I do going forward to still have an impact and to still have that same fire from the inside where I know I'm living from that place of passion and desire and all of that for the things I love, and not let that experience just shut me down or hold me back or scar me in such a way that I'm not willing to go out there and just go at it again. Because I think that's truly one of the things I loved the most about looking at those players on those fields when I was little. It felt like I had to be fearless and go after it. And that was like exciting.
So, John, when you were playing in the NFL, I remember when you and I would talk and interact, it just seemed like an environment that could potentially be very, very difficult to live the kind of religious standards that you hold. Can you speak to that experience? Like, what was it like upholding your morals, your values from a spiritual, religious standpoint, and being eyeballs deep in that kind of world?
Yeah. Well, you hear stories before you get there, and then you see the realities. Here's one thing about like, there are a lot of religious guys in the NFL. There's a lot of, good guys with their own beliefs, but you kind of form a like, you understand who else is also trying to maintain their standards. Be it whatever religion, or even if it's like non-denominational, but just they have a standard of a type of human being that they want to be. The environment though is one where, whether it's because of the celebrity status, whether it's because of fame, whether it's because of a feeling of like, popularity, or I mean, there's so many factors that can pull at guys. There's so many opportunities. There's so many potential pitfalls as well. I think for me, decisions were made long ago in my life of like the type of just person that I wanted to be. And some of those, they to me, they're not even tied to my religion. They're just tied to like me, I just want to be a good guy. I want to be kind, no matter what. At the time, I believed through hard work, through belief, through discipline, through all of the success traits or factors that I had worked on my entire life that I wanted to lean on, that I felt would give me a chance to be successful. I always wanted to have a belief that despite whatever success, now little did I know that would be failure as well, but despite the circumstances, I wanted to maintain me, who I was. And in terms of religion, like one thing that happens is when you play football in the NFL, you're gone every Sunday. And, your routine that you have built up your whole life, and at BYU, you have the opportunity to be at church every Sunday. Your routine shifts for a large part of the year. And so what I learned was my personal effort. I had to come up with my ways to still connect to spirituality, to still stay close to the things that were very important to me. It's very easy to feel a gigantic workload on you at all times. The NFL is an environment where you dedicate so much time, so much emotional investment, physical investment. You invest everything. It's an environment where a lot of men, and nowadays women, you devote your life to it. And, it's probably easy, unless you feel very connected to something, to drift, because there's a lot of good guys that I would say, probably have made some mistakes that they wish they could go back and change, because of the pull of different things. You just get pulled so many different directions. And so to me, I always felt a lot of gratitude that I was trying to maintain something that was very close to my heart, that I had committed myself to, kind of saying, regardless of the circumstance, this matters to me. This is of such a high priority in my life for me, because of how I want to feel in terms of myself. Like, this matters. And there were times through the adversity, through the disappointments, that I had to lean on that a lot. When things didn't go like I thought, that like a lot of very big growth and stretching experiences happened in my life because of the combination of what I was experiencing as a professional athlete, and also my efforts to maintain and to still grow in the spiritual side of my life. Still challenging, still hard, but grateful. And whenever I got to share a team with another member, that was an awesome experience, because it's a shared experience for now, more than just me. And I got questioned a lot by guys. There's a lot of misunderstandings of my beliefs. There's a lot of curiosity of guys because they hear certain things and they want to know. And so I was grateful for the opportunity to be what I wanted to be in both aspects of my life. It's a challenge, but I was grateful for the opportunity.
If you were able to go back, present day John Beck, able to somehow schedule an appointment, let's say, with John Beck of 14, 15, 16 years old and meet up with him, what would you tell him?
I'm visualizing Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure when they go back and they say those things like, bro, tell the princesses. Like, that's such so our good. Era, huh? You know what? Man, teenage John, there's so many things that I'm so grateful that version of me just stuck to it. Because I think I had to be that version of me as a teenager to be able to be the version of me later. But what would have been great is, and I mean, of course it's impossible, but to be able to be like, look, these tools that you are like sharpening, that you are acquiring right now, they are going to serve you so well to a point. But then you're going to have these other tools. And so if there was a way for a 14-year-old to understand, like, yes, leaning on these handful of tools is going to take you to this point, but be ready because you're going to have to now acquire some tools that right now that version of you might think are weak. Here's the example. At that point in time as a teenager, that thought of, well, just do your best and whatever happens, it's not about winning. That sounded like poison to my brain back then. No. That's weak. I'm not going to think like that. Why would I think that just trying your best and losing is okay? So it's tough because I'm glad that version of myself then wouldn't have accepted something like that. Now, I did go to a high school that won a lot. My youth teams won a lot. Baseball was a little bit different, but in just terms of football, I did not experience a lot of losing until I got to BYU. And so it's tricky because so many of the things I needed at those 13, 14, 15 had to stay in that place. But then your next question is going to be talking to my 20-what-year-old self.
Yeah, 24-year-old John.
My 24-year-old John. Those would be the ones of, you need to work on your relationship with loss. I did not have a good relationship with losing because like, what is losing? Like, what is winning? What is success? Like, one of the things that I try to help people understand is winning, the whole, like, he's a winner. How can the outcome of a game determine who is a winner and who is not a winner when there are 22 people on the field, when there are 60-something people on a team? Everybody's involved in the outcome. I remember one time in college, we were playing TCU. It's probably statistically was my best game as a college athlete, and we lost. I threw for like 500 something yards, 5 touchdowns. We lead a minute drive at the end of the game to tie the game, to send it to overtime. And then on the first pass of overtime, I throw a touchdown. But we miss the PAT. The other team scores, it kicks the PAT, we lose. And I remember doing the interviews after the game, and they're like, what is it going to take for this, team to win? And what's it going to take for the offense? I remember being like, wait a second. We just threw for 500 yards, 5 touchdowns, and I led a game-tying drive at the end and what we could have been the game-winning touchdown on the first play. And that was kind of like the thoughts of like, this is an interesting thing because up to that point in my life, when I performed well, my team had won. And it's that thing of beginning to understand, like, winning and losing is not always actually tied to your individual performance. It really is the group. I've seen quarterbacks have average performances and win. And I've seen quarterbacks have really good games and lose. Does that mean that guy's a loser and the other guy's a winner? It's the same thing as like success. What do we actually identify as what constitutes, oh, that guy succeeded. His career was a success. His career was a failure. Like, I try to help guys distance themselves from judgment, from outcomes. No. Step away from all of that. Let the world out there, let the media, let the fan base, let all of them do all of that. Can you live by principles that are success principles that give you the opportunity to win a game? It's not guaranteed. When you keep it simple by focusing on really only what matters and then letting go of what's outside of your control, now that gives you the best opportunity to do your best. And I do believe that there is a strength when you go up in higher levels of the ability to say, I gave it my best. Now, can I improve still? Yes. Here's how I can improve. And now my best is going to be better the next time I go out on the field. That's a secret. So like my 24-year-old self, again, it'd be great to prepare myself was what was going to happen at 26, 27, 28, 29. But it would be like helping myself build a better relationship with losing, with outcomes. I shouldered a ton of responsibility at all times. I was raised to find a way, be a perfectionist, make up the difference. The great quarterbacks are the ones that can take their team that may not be as good as the other team and find a way to win. I loved that belief. How true is that in every circumstance? Are there circumstances that are not built for winning? Absolutely. Not every team is built to, in the NFL, win 12 games and go to the playoffs. No, can you understand that? So if I could talk to my 24-year-old self, it would be able to be like, can you go out, John, and can you give your best and have the outcome not be a winning outcome? And can you have the perspective to interpret it the right way? Far too often, athletes, well, I must have been doing it right because we won. I must have been doing it wrong because we lost. That is not truth. We can be doing things right, success principles to the best of our ability, and not have the outcome be what we want it to be. But that does not mean we were doing it wrong.
Yeah, great point. What if you could speak to your 34-year-old self? What would you tell that guy?
It's going to be okay. I think at 34, football was probably just ending for me. And when you play a sport from age 8 all the way to 34, and the amount of investment that you put into it, physically, emotionally, mentally, all aspects of your life, and then it ends, you wonder what life's going to look like on the other end. And you miss things. I still miss things. I'm drawn towards that environment. I feel a pull to that environment that I just talked about, has all of its flaws and has demands so much. But it's going to be all right because you're going to really enjoy what you've learned. I think my 34-year-old self probably was like, okay, I have this opportunity to coach quarterbacks in this space and it's all brand new. And I'm doing something with a group that has never really been done before. And that's exciting. But what does that mean overall? What am I going to get to feel from this? I know it's not going to feel like the game anymore. And that's a brand new feeling. I'll share this. The first time I tried to work out post football, I was in the garage. The door was open into the house. And I had just come off a torn pec. That's how football ended for me. I tore my pec in a game throwing a ball. And so I'd gone through some rehab stuff and I was, you know what? I'm going to do some exercises in the garage. And I started crying because I did not know how to exercise without performance, a sport, competitiveness, challenging myself to improve, to play better, the sport was gone. The motivation of something I loved. I absolutely loved going and putting in hard work. I love it. And it was gone. And I started crying and Barb came running out and was like, what's wrong? She thought I was hurting or something. And I literally just said, I don't know how to do this. I have never in my life ever done this where I just worked out to like be in shape. And so like, I bet I'm 34 right then when that's happening. It's going to be okay. You're going to be grateful for the lessons you've learned. And although the picture behind you didn't look like what you hoped it would be, it's okay because you're actually taking with you so many things that you don't even realize are going to be such good lessons for what's in front of you. And then this little turning point that you're going through, because of the failure, it's going to actually motivate you to go into this area that you're going to then learn so much more. I mean, I literally was just grabbing every book. If I read a book and it had a reference to another book, I bought that book on the spot. And I just was studying, reading, just trying to acquire everything I could and looking at my experience and the experience of other people I was helping and just gaining all of these things that like, it's okay, you know? And it's okay to sit in a space and talk about that it didn't work out, like my 14-year-old self, man, I was all in on like, I am going to believe so hard. I mean, I remember being a kid at night, laying in my bed and just like my heart beating out of my chest because I wanted so badly to just like make it happen. I just loved the pursuit of all of it. Then there's a few nights where you're thinking about the pretty blonde in ninth grade.
Yeah.
And you're like, man, she is so hot.
Yeah.
But I mean, I miss the challenging things when it doesn't go good and you like are motivated to go out and I mean, love those things, but it's okay. Like life is truly about this like crazy roller coaster we're all on about figuring things out as we're going and failing along the way and realizing like, it's okay. Like we're going to grow and we're going to learn. And like, I'm so grateful for the things that I've been able to then turn around and give my boys because of my experiences.
Yeah. Speak to that just for a minute, if you would, John. Like you have 4 boys, quite a bit of diversity among them.
So different.
They're very different.
Yeah.
All 4 of them, unique talents and gifts, interests. Talk just for a moment, if you would, about your parenting philosophy or your parenting evolution, how you have changed and evolved as a father over the years. Your oldest is
18. 18, yeah.
And your youngest is 9. So, just speak to what it's been like being a father.
Well, you're learning on the fly. That's for dang sure.
Yeah.
I think that my oldest got, the figuring it out version of me. If I could go back in time and talk to that young father, like, just there were some times, I'm sure we all experience it, right? You get frustrated, like they're splashing in the tub and they're not stopping. And you're just like, guys, like, oh man, the reality is I should have just splashed them back and laughed, but like, I think all parents are impacted with the way that you feel love when you have your own kids. What triggers that emotion that can just, you see a picture of your little boy or girl when they're little and you just feel it. Like, so I think like the amount of love that you understand, that you feel, that you grow with them in, like it's unlike any feeling. So I'm so grateful for that experience. I feel like it's probably softened me in some ways. Just, I think it's supposed to, right? Like as a parent, and I'm grateful for that. My oldest son, he's so unique in his own ways, and he brings such an amazing feeling of that uniqueness to our home. And like, I think I've grown a lot as a parent in like, helping my kids, at least I try, understand how much I love all of their unique qualities and abilities. Like, it's not about that, like, I was thinking my kids were going to be a certain way, and that's why I love you guys. And so I don't want you to think that at all. And I think it's because also, like, early on, my oldest would always get asked, do you like football? Well, I didn't care if he did or he didn't, but it was like that sensitivity of like, I don't want him to think he needs to. that helped me as a dad. And, so like I've tried to kind of give to them, like, I want them to know that I believe in them, and you can't fake it or they'll know it, like, and not that I've never felt like I had to. It was just a feeling of like, I've witnessed other situations in families where there is so much put on the kids, and I can feel what the kid's experiencing. And I know the impact of that because of the performance psychology stuff. I don't want them to feel that at all. I felt like I got to experience this really cool, like, alignment of what my parents, me, like, so aligned. And so like in my best effort, I try to provide that for each one of my kids. But the truth is like, I don't have the same natural talents and abilities as like my oldest. But how can I help myself align myself so that he feels that from me, if that makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
And I hope I answered the question all right. I feel like that's such a that's such a big question.
Yeah,
I want them to feel confidence in themselves for who they are.
Yeah.
I want them to like feel a belief in themselves. I want them to not put too much expectations on themselves so young. Like, that's such a tough thing nowadays. I can't tell you how many young athletes feel such large amounts of expectations far too early in their life. Like, you should not feel weighing down of expectations at such young ages.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's supposed to be pure. It's supposed to be from that place that builds that passion, that joy, that love.
Like you said, childlike.
Yeah.
There was someone, I'm sure you'll know who, very famous, that said, only the children enter the kingdom.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot to be said, a lot of parallels and metaphors that you shared today about, performance and athletics and playing from the heart, playing like a child, playing like you're out in the backyard, that directly apply to life too.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's tricky because we can sense that our kids may not always feel like that.
Yeah.
And as a parent, like, how do you handle the seriousness of life while yet the balance of what, we want them to feel? This is a little bit on the topic, like, you hear that statement of like, sometimes athletes playing for the love of their parent. I remember the first time that I heard that's such an interesting thing. Like, did I feel like my dad especially had high expectations? Oh, absolutely. High expectations. But somehow it motivated me in a way that I loved it too. Never a feeling that like I had to earn love through a performance. But that's a reality that a lot of people do experience.
Yeah.
A huge amount of people experience that. And that doesn't shake. I know people at very, very high levels that still feel elements of that. And it's tough. We have to be so careful of the environment that we shape, whether it's athletically, whether it's, music, whether it's academics. Like, we as parents shape so much by the way that we live, communicate. I chose to not go into professional coaching with teams because of how important it was for me to be around my kids. And it wasn't so much for the successes. It was so after the failures, I could be there to like help, because I look at my failures and the things that I had to learn going through them, that then I say, well, I want this to be applied to the people that I care about most. Mm-hmm. And so my communication pattern, how I talk about my experiences, like, I try to talk about my experiences in a way that if they're listening, it will help them when they when they face theirs. Because I don't feel like I'm setting them up for successes. I actually feel like I'm setting them up so that when they feel the failures, they can navigate it the right way. And should they have some success along the way? Yes, because of the principles that they're going to live by. But that does not mean that they will be able to elude or evade other failures. It's inevitable in this life.
Yeah, that's awesome. John, let's just pretend for a moment that the microphone you're speaking into is being broadcast to the entire world. What message would you want them to hear from you?
I would probably say, as important as all of this feels, when you are trying to reach high levels of anything, the secret is in how you can make it feel not as important. The world does not and should not hang on the outcome of a game, whether you achieve something or not, whether you become something or not. I think most of us, as we go along in life, we realize the things that are really of the greatest value, the people we love the most, the experiences we share with them. We would lose a million games over losing a child in any fashion. That doesn't even mean losing them to death, losing them to some of their poor decisions and the path that they go on. I love being driven towards something. I love the feeling of wanting to accomplish. If I didn't live by those things, I don't think I would be living by truly what's inside of me. But can we distance ourselves from feeling like it matters so much? I know exactly what it feels like to walk out on a NFL football field feeling like the outcome of this game, my future potentially could hinge on the outcome of this game. Those feelings are so tough to perform under. So how can you be in that environment? Because that's a reality. You can't escape the reality of that. How though can you go in that environment and play free as if it doesn't matter everything? And so I think life, it's a little bit the same way, life's important. The decisions we make are important. Do our decisions impact our destiny? Absolutely. But we can't put so much on every one of them, because then I just feel like it just stifles so much.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, part of life is leaning into the wind. Part of life is just, okay, didn't work out. I can move on. The best quarterbacks are the ones that can put things behind them and move on and play. Like they can learn from that, but then play the next play as if that one didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
But they've learned from it. And I love that. And I love that, that takes work, that takes practice. That's probably what I would say of like, it matters, but it doesn't matter all that much. And can you still remember what matters most? Because at the end of the day, our loved ones, the experiences we have with them, no matter what happens with those people, it's just so good.
Yeah. John, as we wrap things up here, one of the, I think for me, most fascinating things about life and a huge paradox is that although to me, there's really no disputing the interconnectedness of everything, not the least of which human beings themselves. Like, we're all connected. And yet, based on our environment, our upbringing, our childhood experiences, our wounding, our trauma, our beliefs, we each individually have these lenses that we see the world through that are different. Every single person sees the world through those lenses in a slightly different way. So, like, it's fascinating to me to hear you describe your experiences that you've lived through. And I can hear them and I can process them and I can imagine them. But at the end of the day, I still, like, I don't know exactly what it's like to be John Beck. What is it like to be John Beck?
I mean, I don't even know if I can put it in a short, I don't know, because I bet a lot of me is probably pretty easy. At least is me. I think it's pretty easy to feel what I'm experiencing, the people around me. Like, this is gonna sound funny, and whenever Barb watches this, she's gonna laugh. I don't know. I just feel pretty like normal and ordinary. I think I'm pretty simple. Like, I mean, me as a person and my experience has changed because when I was the quarterback at college, the quarterback in the NFL, right? Like in a lot of the environments I was in, like you do get noticed a lot, right? It's not like nowadays where people want to like take pictures all the time. Like I'm around some pretty high profile quarterbacks and like, I actually feel bad for those guys a lot. They can't go anywhere without, everybody wants a picture. Everybody wants, please take a video and like my brother, say happy birthday to my brother or that type of stuff. Like, I feel like these phases in my life where like, yeah, there was a phase of my life that it was all about this journey of something I loved. And then I lived that journey and there were some awesome things about it. And there were some disappointing, hard things about it. And then it's kind of like that one ended. Like that seems like a lifetime ago to me. And then there's been this focus on like actually just helping others. Like my family first and foremost, being there in the best possible way I can for the people I love most. And so like my focus is so much less about like what I'm trying to do and accomplish and so much about like what I experienced and how it can help them. And then I try to help all of these people around me. Like I care about the quarterbacks that I help. Like, when I see somebody have a poor performance and then they're calling me the next day and I might be out to lunch with my, like a friend or something, I grab that phone because I know what that person is experiencing on the inside. And I remember that. Like, how you talked about like, John, you have these vivid memories of things. I feel like emotionally, I remember the feeling of those experiences. And so when somebody's reaching out to me to want to talk about something, I feel like I know what they're feeling, I don't know if I were to say like what me is now, I don't know. I think that's the best description of what I am. I'm somebody that like has experienced all of these things and remembers it and remembers what it felt like and remembers what it looked like. And so when I'm helping people around me, all right, yeah, like let's talk about it. I understand that. Or like, I'm going to go try to help that person, or I'm going to give them the best I got so that they can have their best chance to achieve the things that they want to. Because I just kind of think like all these guys I'm helping were just these kids from somewhere believing and hoping and working and trying, and I'm helping them now.
It's awesome, man.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, John. It's been great to have you. Really appreciate you being here.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. Thanks for having me on. I mean, it's been a fun conversation. A little long. Yeah, it's okay. But now, fun. Our audience can see why we had you on. You're an awesome guy. I look up to you a lot, and your story is incredible. Thanks, bro. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you for sharing it with us. Thanks, Brando. Yeah. Thanks, man. Free to sing sweet feathers and let me like a hug, whispering melodies. The Safe to Be Seen podcast is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. Darcy and Brandon Burke do not claim to be experts. We have no intention to defend our beliefs or impose them onto others. This podcast provides a space to allow for us to share with others what it's like to be us. We desire to share our human journey with others. We advise you to seek professional counsel, therapy, and/or treatment from trained, credentialed, and certified professionals for any emotional, mental, and/or physical conditions you may be experiencing.